Welcome to Sun Ra Artist Homestead. Today I'm talking all about seed saving. Going to share with you my collection so far and some important information to really help you get going on your own seed collecting and saving journey. I'm going to start this video off by taking a quick walk through the garden. There's some plants out here that still have seed on them that can be collected. Under the nectarine tree here I have some garlic chives. I'll just dry those out. Oh good, found some dry Liatris seed. And under the peach tree here, I was noticing some rose campion. There's so much seed in these. I'm actually not going to collect any because it already made a ton of babies this spring. Some plants, it's best just to let Mother Nature propagate them for you. Same with echinacea and hollyhocks. They seem to self-propagate very easily. All right, so that really mulched the whole guild really well here. The seed actually needs to be stratified, so it needs a cold period to actually germinate well. Let Mother Nature do it for you. I have tons of little babies in this waterway here. Let's see what else we have over here. These are some foxgloves. You can see some there just scattering right on the snow. So I saw some mature hosta seed over here. Oh, should have brought the scissors. A lot of the other hostas actually didn't mature the seed on them. Yeah, I've never started hostas from seed before, so that'll be interesting to try. I often will come around in the food forest and just grab seed like this and just sprinkle it all over. With many flowers I do that, delphiniums, and then I just get babies everywhere and I can dig them up later. Let's take a walk down this way. Huge kiwi vines certainly put off a lot of wonderful leaf mulch now, just everywhere. It's really building the forest floor up now. These are some more sweet williams just growing in the pathway here. Would you like a kiwi leaf? Okay, so here are the seeds I've been collecting for the past 3 years. And I've been going about it somewhat casually. Seed saving is definitely an ongoing process. You need to cycle through your seeds. You know, some last a lot longer than others. So it's best to store your seeds in a cool, dark, and dry place. A couple of years ago, I bought these cosmetic jars. They have a nice tinted glass and a secondary seal cap. And they come in a few different sizes. And I just choose my container, you know, according to the size of the seed for one, and also just the quantity that I have to save. And you're definitely going to need some larger containers for, you know, larger seeds like peas and beans. Okay, let's have a look at all the seeds I've been collecting. Got calendula, a dwarf marigold, a couple jars of coriander, some dill. These are my tomatoes, blueberry variety, both yellow and red. San Marzano, Purple Comet, Sasha Zalte, Early Slicer, really great variety. Joan Flame, of course one of my favorites of all time. Brandywine, Gold Nugget, another San Marzano selection. Polish Linguiza, and I got some flowers up here. Snapdragon, they seem to come back every year. Same with the calendula, asters, dwarf morning glory, and Crystal Peak. It's a perennial, that one. I have some basil here, watermelon, nasturtiums. The thing is, when you create a food forest environment, so many of these flowers just self-propagate. For the past 2 years now, nasturtiums and sunflowers have just come up on their own. Anti-high pepper, carrots, improved Siberian kale, and collards, and dusty rose poppies. Green French fillet, very stringless, really awesome green pole bean. Have 2 collections from 2 different years. Cascadia snap peas, carrots for backup. Parsnips from 2020. Actually, this seed probably isn't all that viable. Be interesting to test it. Typically, parsnip seed only lasts around a year, and then the germination will drop off, much like, you know, onions and leeks. Magnolia snap pea has a beautiful purple flower. Some green arrow shelling peas, and a corn, an heirloom heritage variety called Double Standard. So excited to be saving corn finally. Corn is wind pollinated and will easily cross with other varieties. Regardless if you're growing it for seed or food, you do want to keep varieties about 50 feet or further apart. Anything you're saving from, you do want to make sure it's like open pollinated or it has the heritage kind of label on it or heirloom labeling or just in the description of your seed. You don't want to be saving from hybrids in general unless you're going to try to stabilize it. Now we're moving on to this autumn's collection. That was the corn and the Celebration runner bean. Here are some more of the runner beans. Just massive, they're huge. So gorgeous. They have a salmon colored flower. A lot of the other runners have a bright orange. Windsor fava bean, lima beans, lima di spagna bianco, Italian. It's a pole bean as well. Thomas Lexton shelling peas. So I'm trying to select just the nice pods, ones that are full. Can be good to select some of the first maturing ones to try to keep the genetics early if that's what you're after. This is kind of in between because I did pick them once and then kind of let them go. So this will kind of be a mid selection for maturing. It doesn't have too much effect, but over time it does. If you keep selecting the first ones that mature, you'll get a more early established climatized variety. Have another pole bean here. Only a few germinated. I guess the seed was maybe old. And then we have some flowers that we just collected now. These are some hostas. Have some liatris, garlic chives here. Sweet William, a couple different colors there. Have some leek seed heads here. And these have been drying by the fire for a little bit now. And they should be ready to be threshed now into a paper bag. And then if you pour the seed back and forth from containers with all the debris and you apply a fan, you can do what is called winnowing, where it just blows off the debris and you're left with a fairly clean seed. I have some tomatillos I'm going to be saving seed from. And these are my two garlic varieties I've been saving from over the years. Well, the Yugoslavian is a little more recent, last 2 years. They typically only have about 3 cloves per bulb, and they're really extra large. And this is a Russian red variety, and these have anywhere from 3 to 5. So here are the potato varieties I've been growing for the last couple of years and saving from. I have a russet type, Norland, Kennebec, Fingerling, Amarosa. This one I'm unsure of. Really love both of these. Here's a Fingerling variety called Banana and Russian Blue. So I'm going to go over some vegetable plant seeds that are fairly easy to collect without being overly concerned about cross-pollination. These plants are typically going to be the self-fertile or self-fruiting plants. They have what is known as a perfect flower. This just means that they have both male and female parts within the same structure and are capable of reproducing on their own. However, bees still play an important part with the pollination of perfect flowers. They do what is called buzz pollination, where they rattle the flower. They vibrate it so that the pollen falls off. If you don't have that many bees around or other insects that are pollinating, or you're growing in a greenhouse where many bees are coming in, then you can help the process a little bit by shaking the flowers yourself, or use a electric toothbrush and place it close to the flower on the stem, and it will vibrate the pollen. So with tomatoes, beans, peas, peppers, it's best just to grow them in clusters of the same variety and give them 10, 20 feet of distance between. That way you will ensure a more true seed. So most bean varieties won't cross very easily. One exception is the runner bean. These do need pollination and they will cross a lot easier. Hummingbirds also pollinate the runner bean, such an excellent bean just to grow for the flowers. There are 2 other plants that are very easy to collect from. That would be potato and garlic. The tubers, you just want to make sure they don't have any disease, like the plant when it's growing, you don't see any blight or anything like that. And for the tuber itself, you just want to select scab-free, nothing too crazy looking, just make sure it looks good. And generally, a medium-sized potato is kind of just a nice balance. You can plant large ones and you will get a more robust, big plant that grows more potatoes, has more energy and nutrients to really take off. You may also want to chip them. Do so by placing your spuds in the light so that the eyes start to develop small shoots. This will give them a head start. Not totally necessary, but it is nice to chip them. Make sure each piece that you cut has one eye at least, and you want to let them heal over before you plant them out. You can plant any size potato really. I myself typically plant whole potatoes about this size and larger, but I will also plant smaller ones. Also depends on the variety, right? These banana fingerlings are quite a bit smaller. So I usually end up planting some of all sizes actually, but I typically will save just a nice medium size and I'll plant the whole tuber. And with the garlic, it's real simple as well. Just make sure you don't have any disease, and you want to save the largest bulbs to plant in the autumn for the next crop. You can plant smaller cloves, you'll just get smaller bulbs. So I always just select out the largest ones right away and save that for seed. Tomatillos, they actually do not cross with tomatoes. They do have perfect flowers, except that they are very poor at pollinating themselves. It is best to grow at least 2 tomatillo plants so that the bees can carry the pollen between the two. So this is how you can save seed from tomatoes or tomatillos. Just going to cut it in half, and we're just going to squish it out into a mason jar. All the flesh in there. I'm going to do at least 2. These have been sitting around in the house for a little while now. They tend to keep quite a little while. The same with tomatoes. Just want to keep all the gelatinous flesh in there, and then just a little bit of water to cover them. So you just let that sit now 3 to 5 days and let it ferment. Should become more of a slurry, and you can see it just kind of clouding up a bit. After, you want to just strain it and rinse the seed off, and then spread it out on a plate or some wax paper, and then you can pack it up once it's dry. So you get really nice, clean, fuzzy seed when you do the fermenting process. So herbs like dill, cilantro, and basil, they will and can cross within their family. Dill can cross with, a fennel if it's planted too close together, but I really wouldn't worry about it. So vegetable plants with separate male and female flowers will cross-pollinate a lot more easily. They really need the bees for pollination. Things like squash and cucumber, but not all cucumbers. Some have been bred to produce only female flowers, but in general, any plant that has both male and female flowers that are separated will cross a lot easier. So you do need to be extra careful with cucumber and squash. Is a little bit more tricky. They need that isolation. There's a few ways to go about this. The easiest one being just grow one variety. Secondly, you can hand pollinate and bag. There's also caging techniques, and as well as consecutive planting. So a biennial plant needs 2 growing seasons to kind of complete its life cycle. This just means that they will go to seed in their second year, and depending where you are geographically, it can be difficult to overwinter some of these things if you have very cold winters. Sometimes these plants will bolt the first year. You don't really want to save seed from a bolting plant. A lot of the biennial seed is actually grown in more southern areas because it is easier to overwinter in more consistent temperatures where it doesn't get too cold. Things like cabbage and celery, I've been trying to overwinter now, and it didn't work out. So I'm thinking what I need to do is dig them up and put them in pots in a cooler location, but not freezing, so that they will stay alive, and then they will sprout up the following year and start producing some seed. So far, a few I can overwinter here. Things like carrots, chard, collards, and kale have been fine. I've collected from all of those. And onions and leeks. So when growing biennials for seed, you need to make sure that there's only one variety within that species flowering at one time. I do order from a couple of these companies here. I also just find a lot of them at local stores, and it's really great to source smaller farms that are organic, that are selling seeds, have their seed companies. That is ideal. Hawthorne Farm Organic Seeds, that is my go-to small organic farm to order from, and then I'll go to like William Dam Seeds. Still like a family run business, but it's definitely a lot more commercialized, lots of hybrids. And then I'll also sometimes order from West Coast Seeds. All right, so real quick, I'll show you all my store-bought seed here. I've got 4 containers. Probably could use 2 more categories, but it's working just fine for the time being. I've got all my root crops in here. In this one, I've got nightshades and a whole bunch of flowers. This one, I've got all my peas and beans and summer squash and winter squash and cucumbers and melons, brassicas, leafy greens, and herbs. So typically onion seed only lasts about a year, so I started saving my leftover seed in the freezer. Just make sure it's in a tightly sealed bag to keep any moisture out. You can save other seeds this way too, and they will last longer. So I just wanted to mention something about conventionally grown seed. It is very heavily sprayed. It doesn't have the same regulations as other conventionally grown food crops, so it can pretty much be sprayed full on constantly, and it is. So it's just something to think about. I still use quite a few conventionally grown seeds, but I do feel a lot better when I choose that organic product. Ultimately, I think the organic seed is far superior than conventionally grown. You know, the conventional stuff has been kind of stripped down year after year. All the pesticides and herbicides can really weaken a plant's immune system. So the organic seed should have, you know, more minerals in there and just be more vital. But you know, all this stuff now is 100% beyond organically grown. And so, you know, we're working towards that. And whenever I can find a variety that I do like grown organically, I will choose that. So a couple wonderful reasons to start saving your own seed would include, you know, you're increasing your self-reliance. The seed starts to become acclimated to your garden and surrounding, so acclimatization of your seed can be very beneficial. Start to get larger crops. It's adapted to your climate, so it's more resistant to weather patterns and diseases in your area or location. You can trade them for other seeds or other products. The direction we're going, seeds are going to become a lot more valuable, and so that's a really good reason to just start your collection, start getting the understanding and know-how. You'll have some trading power, you know, for things that you may need. You'll save money as well, and yeah, it's just really satisfying, wonderful experience. All right, I hope this video brought you some motivation to want to get out there next season and start your own seed collection. Thanks so much for watching, really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, share, and we'll see you on the next one.